And welcome once again to our weekly chat. It's Your Retirement with Insurance 365. And Jay Kenobi, he is on your left as you look at your radio. And the very lovely Angela Cradaville joins us once again as well. Hi, guys.
Hello there.
Okay, so what we've been doing on this show here for the past several months is really encouraging people that if you're within 10 years of retirement, you need to go have a chat with the folks at Insurance 365. You know, Jay, last year, well, I guess it was maybe last year. No, it was in January. We talked about having a revenue plan. And when you ask people, what's your revenue plan or your income plan after you retire, you get a lot of blank looks.
You do. You just kind of get that blank look, and they really come up with, well, I hope my resources I have take care of it. And I say, well, you say that with a little hesitation. And then the one that they say with some degree of certainty is Social Security, Jeffrey. But Angela, we know that one they kind of hesitate too because of political thoughts.
For sure.
You know, and maybe we should visit that just a little bit here too, because now we have a new administration in power as of January 20th. Does that change any way that you should look at your retirement if you're close? Let's say you're 4 years from retirement.
Well, I think political is tough to digest and tough to change. I think the thing that you can control as a consumer is, do I have a written out game plan for income? Because regardless of who's in there and how they're doing things, Social Security is a thing we hear about. You know, it may be there and may not be there. I wouldn't lose sleep over that. What I would lose sleep over is if you haven't met with someone like Angela and myself and said, let's get written down on a piece of paper year by year until my spouse and I are 100 or 105 years old, and let's make sure we have enough for our expected lifestyle.
Let's go to Angela first here, and let's talk about Social Security, because that's the obvious one. Nowadays, people, I would hope that most people shouldn't expect to be able to live off Social Security in retirement, but you got to have that conversation. So what does that conversation go like, Angela?
Right. Well, and most people, when they look at their income, they take in consideration their husband and their wife's Social Security. So they look at both Social Securities.
Yeah.
But the thing that they need to remember is, if one of them dies, they only get one. One goes away completely. Mm-hmm. You know, you get the higher of the two, you don't get both. Your bills don't change, but your income will.
Yeah, boy, no kidding. Jay, there's only so many ways you can generate income outside of having a job once you retire, right?
Absolutely.
You can go be a Walmart greeter or something like that. But a lot of people do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let's say you can't, or you just don't want to.
Well, most people, what's interesting about what we do, we just tell people, come in, let's sit down and have a conversation. And when we have the conversation, what Angela and I are doing is fact-finding. What do you need to live off of? Just tell me, what are your monthly bills? Most people tell me in Norfolk, Nebraska, this area, they say, Jay, I need between $4,000 and $6,000 a month. So we just tell you, come in and let's have the discussion. We do the fact-finding. And then we come back with the magic. And the magic is in the homework that we do. It always takes us 2 to 3 weeks. It takes us multiple avenues. And we narrow about 25 to 30 solutions down to 2 or 3. And then we meet with you again. Mm-hmm. And we sit down and talk about just what Angela said. What does it look like today? What does it look like upon the death of one? And what will it look like at age 100? I always tell people, you may purchase something from us, you may not. It doesn't matter. What matters, though, is that you're going to want these reports, because these reports is what makes you and your wife have the deep conversations and the reality of the situation. Most people just live this fallacy world of, well, we're going to retire and, things will be okay and we'll chase grandkids and we're going to live forever. Well, that's not a plan. So we bring up, what do you need? And then let's get a plan. Sometimes it involves purchasing something from us. Sometimes it does not. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just a great discussion to get out in the open. But the point of everything is, people want to insure their income, but they don't know they can. I mean, think about that, listeners, right now. You insure your car.
Yeah.
Natural.
You're supposed to.
Well, another show.
Yeah, another show, yeah.
You insure your house. You insure your business. You insure your livestock. You insure your crops. You insure yourself for a disability. You insure yourself for long-term care. Think of, is there a world that you can insure your income, Jeffrey? And most people would say, well, no. That's why you need to sit down with Angela and I. We will show you that there is a way to insure your income.
we've talked about Social Security. We're going to come back around to this. There's also pensions, not as many pensions as there used to be. Education employees, federal employees, state employees, they usually come with a pension. But you even have to handle those correctly, don't you?
You do. You want to make sure those, because you can get into situations where you check the wrong box, and it's very, very unfortunate. And the thing that we struggle with, and I think it's natural for anyone on our side of the desk, people are going to come in and think, what is he or she going to pitch us? What is he or she going to try to sell us?
Yeah.
So I'll just stay in where I was the last 30 years, and those people in a cubicle on a phone number on the other end are safer. Well, you've been with them having your 401k, but that doesn't mean they're working side by side in the community with you.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I just have to tell people, look, just come on in and let's have the discussion. I'm not even going to have an application. I'm not going to have anything here. But let's do these income reports. Let's talk about the big picture items and get the discussion going, and we'll go from there.
Okay, you mentioned check the right box. Let's explore that a little bit. And we don't mean to scare people, but sometimes you got to hear a story or two like this to raise your eyebrow. Angela, you want to take that one?
We once had a customer who checked the wrong box, as Jay would say, and he got the highest payout is what he wanted, but he did not include spousal survivorship. So what that means is when he passed, it was gone.
It was gone, and she was left with nothing. Now, Jay, I know it's hard to get into somebody's head, but what was he thinking?
Well, he had about $400,000 at retirement time, and he wanted to maximize his payment. He wanted to get the most out of his plan. And so there's discussions you need to have with people to say what really is the benefit and downside of each check mark.
Yes.
And he just saw the biggest monthly payment,
and didn't
so he
ask.
took it. And I was at his funeral within 2 months.
He retired, and 2 months later, he's gone.
Yeah, he was my client not for this product, but for other things.
Right.
So I go to the funeral and visit with the wife a few months later, and said, "How's everything going?" And she says, "It's terrible. This terrible thing happened." And I had no idea of what happened. I says, "Well, listen, this is what he did." And I was like, "Oh no, you have no payment." The company kept it.
Pension went away. And she got nothing.
And that's where the product that we use is different than a pension and different than a Social Security. And Jeffrey, this is important for people to understand. When you have pensions and Social Securities, typically when you die, your spouse is getting a lesser value.
Yes.
With the product we use, it can't go down upon the first death. It cannot go down upon the first death.
Okay.
So you might die at 65 and your wife dies at 95. That payment never changed. But in Social Security, if you die at 65, your wife gets one lost, correct?
Yeah, right.
So what really happened, I kind of want to get into this a little bit. What really happened was, obviously, we were a very productive property casualty agency for years in Norfolk area. And people, I just saw a burden of just, everything's going up, Jay. Everything's going up. Homeowners goes up, groceries go up, taxes go up. And so income was always a struggle. And what I saw was people struggled with it, but yet everybody seemed to worry about keeping money to give to their children. And about 10 years ago, and you'll laugh because you have kids that are about 25, 26, right?
Right, you do, yeah.
Okay. Your parents probably looked at you, Jeffrey, and wanted to save all of their money and give up their own style, their own things, to make you and your brothers and sisters a better life. But what you will see with your children, and what has really changed, is just this. You look at your children, and they're showing up at Christmas time in a really nice vehicle.
Yeah.
They have a really nice house.
Yeah.
Their kids have everything. And you're starting to say, my wife and I need to live for us. We don't need to become lesser financially to give to kids. We want to live. My wife and I want to live.
For what you worked for your whole life.
And your kids are okay.
Yeah.
They don't need $300,000 of inheritance or $600,000. So the mentality of the consumers in the last 10 years has drastically changed. And a lot of people joke with me like, yeah, my kid showed up with a $70,000 truck.
Yeah.
And my daughter-in-law showed up with a $100,000 Suburban, and they live on this street and that street. They don't resent it. They just say, it's obvious my kids don't need us.
Yeah.
So what we do at Insurance 365 is show you how to maximize your existing resources to create income for you more than this whole thought process of having to give to kids.
Yeah. Well, it's a generational thing, too, because, when you're talking about the Depression era generation, they didn't have much. They didn't want their kids to have to live like that. But we've moved farther down the road to where, lifestyles don't change much from generation to generation. Maybe technology does. Things are a little bit more convenient or so. But you're right. And the bigger gift, I think, or a better gift that you can give your kids than your money is to teach them how to save and get them started on a retirement plan long before you maybe ever did. That's one thing that we've done with our kids is they started IRAs when they were 18, 19, the first job they had. Mm-hmm. They're already putting away for retirement. And I think that's probably a better gift that you can give your kids. So anyway, this is Insurance 365, your retirement with Insurance 365. Jay Kenobi, Angela Cradaville with us this morning. We do this the third Saturday of every month here on News Talk WJAG. So imagine that. Guaranteeing or insuring your income in retirement. We're back with the second half. We're going to talk more about this. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is your retirement with Insurance 365. My name is Jeffrey Steffen. Jay Kenobi is on the left. Angela Cradaville is on the right. And Jay, again, this month we are talking about your income plan when it comes to retirement. Jay is on a personal mission. Angela is on a personal mission to educate Norfolk and Northeast Nebraska about how you prepare for retirement. If you're within 10 years of retirement, you need to go have a conversation with both of them. They'll both be a part of the conversation. But Jay, during the break, you and I were just talking about, the actual time investment in this with the plan that you can share and what you can do for people. First visit is 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes. We sit down and we do what I call a fact finder, which you will know everything off the top of your mind. It's nothing complicated. I just need to know what it takes for you to live on is the biggest question.
And you really need to start looking at some of these things on paper. We'll have a good example of that coming up a little bit later on, that people just make assumptions, and then you start writing the numbers down on paper, and you're like, whoa. And Jay, you and I have talked about this too before, about how much fun it must be for you when you can show somebody who comes in thinking they can't retire, and then you show them the number, and they go, oh.
Yeah, I always say this is like an investigative report. I love to take all of your information, come back 2 weeks later, and then we sit down for about an hour, and I put it all together on some clear, understandable, colored reports.
Yes, I like color. I'm a
Color's
visual
good.
guy. I like color.
Yeah, and we just sit down, and I just talk about things for, some take about a half hour, some take an hour, but, basically you're investing an hour and 15 minutes for a free analysis report of your income. And who wouldn't want that if you're thinking about retiring, maybe recently retired, or maybe you're retired and just say, my money's not doing what I want it to do. I'm afraid of the stock market. The banking industry's at 1%. You're just frustrated with any of those thoughts.
Yeah.
Come see us and see what another alternative may be. And our alternative is going to be based on your income, which kind of a lot of people like to talk about once I bring it up.
This really isn't a conversation to be afraid of. It's like you say, you don't charge anybody for it. It's informational. But how many of us know people who maybe are 3 or 4 years, maybe they're in their late 60s, maybe they're around, and they're still working full time?
Oh,
and you ask them, what are you doing that for?
Norfolk has a lot of people who work hard physical labor jobs, and they've been loyal, and they're like, well, another 2 years, Jay, and I'm going to retire. And I'll say, so what's the number? And they're like, what do you mean? Well, why 2 years left? Well, I don't know. They really just it's an ambiguous concept to them.
But it's a psychological thing. And we've talked about this before about how important it is to make that shift from, an income generator to an income taker.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do. And I think people hit a wall when it comes to that. It's like, I really can't do this. Yep. I've got to keep working. I got to keep working.
Yep.
But you really don't. So let's talk about some products, and you have products available that will, like we talked about in the first segment, guarantee your income because of the other sources of revenue, Social Security, pension, things like that. Sooner or later, the principal is going to run out.
That's what I really emphasize a great deal in it. And it's a concept I'll talk a little slower as I talk about this here because people have a hard time understanding it. But if you have a lump sum of money, say you have $100,000 in a CD, funding an IRA or mutual funds, whatever you have, most people believe if I start to withdraw 4 to 5%, everything will be okay. And what happens is, let's say, Jeffrey, you withdraw your 4 to 5% in that product, but 61% of the time, this is done by Stanford University, 61% of the time, the money from your resource to start with will run out before you're dead. And common sense, though, says, well, that makes sense. I mean, I started with $1 million or I started with $100,000. And when I got to be 84, I had withdrawn 4%, 4%, 4%, and all of a sudden it's gone. And people accept that. We don't.
Man, I never want to be in that spot. I never want
But it's common sense, right?
Sure,
when your money's gone, your money's gone.
Yeah.
But what we have is a product that says even with the principal at zero, we have to pay out that monthly income that we have paid the entire time. So if you are somebody with a history of good health and family genes of good health,
Yeah.
boy, you can really get all of your money plus the growth plus everything as gravy, so to speak. It's kind of sandbagged,
Right.
for lack of better words. Gravy or sandbagged. It's money that your principal plus your return interest. And keep in mind, the returns are guaranteed.
Okay.
So we're not going to have a year where I'm going to meet with you and say, hey, it went down -10. No, we're not going to have that.
Okay, I have a question, Jay. How soon do I have to start this or to take part in
That's
this?
a good question. We have clients everywhere from 60 to 80, 85. I've got
Really?
one. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't
It's not
mean
something I don't have to start this when I'm 35 or 40.
No. You don't have to start it early, and you come in at any point in time. I mean, some clients have come in their 80s and said, "Hey, I'm afraid of this.
I'm gonna run out."
Stock market. Well, I'm afraid of the stock market. I'm
Yeah.
afraid it's going to run out. I see it might go down 30%, and they just want some security and income.
Yeah.
And sometimes people say, don't even need the income. I just want the security.
Well, that's why you have to have that first conversation to find out what are my expenses. And, there's the expenses, Jay, but then there's also this lifestyle you want to maintain. You don't want to take a step backwards. So, you want to go chase grandchildren. But I don't know about you, but you know what the temperature is outside right now? And when I'm retiring, you think I'm spending Februarys in Norfolk, Nebraska after? No way, man. I'm going to say, hey, Jay, how can I go to Mesa, Arizona once a year for 4 to 8 weeks? Can I do that?
I understand.
Those are questions that have to be said. But Angela has she I hope you're journaling all of this because she could write a book. You really could. You could write a book of investment nightmares or just great stories. And you have a great story to share with us.
Yeah, I was meeting with a client one day, and we were talking about the weekend, and she's like, I have to go to work. I have to get up early, just complaining. I'm like,
And how old is she?
She was 68.
68.
And I just looked at her and I go, why are you still working if you absolutely are dreading it?
And on the weekend, on top of it.
On the weekend.
Jeez. When I'm 68, I'm going to say, well, I'll work Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. I ain't working on Saturday. Yeah.
And she just looked at me and she goes, I can't quit. I can't retire. And I asked her, I'm like, have you ever looked into it? Have you ever looked at the resources that you have to produce your income? And she just looked at me with a blank stare and she had no idea. She's like, no, I haven't. So that's when we started looking into her situation, got a fact finder, like Jay said, started writing down her numbers and got a bunch of reports back to her. And she was crying in her office because she could quit. She had enough.
And the husband went, really?
Wow. Here again, here's a prime example of why you really need to stop in. If you're within 10 years of retirement, imagine being 68 and never just sitting down just to see.
And that's the thing. It's just a free visit. I mean, we just want to get out and talk to you and Some people end in a crying, excitement of I can quit my job. Some people say, this looks great, but I like my career. I'm going to do it another year or two. I've had a lot of those where people say, you know what, Jay, I like everything you're saying. I'm going to keep working though another year or two and get my numbers a little higher, and then I'll come back.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I mean, it doesn't. The thing is just to understand
the peace of mind.
Yes, because you want to know. You really do. You want to know what your number is. That's so important. I mean, and it's fun to show people like you're going to have $8,000 a month in guaranteed income, and they're like, "We're okay," and I'm like, "You are more than okay.
Yeah,
you are fine.
Yeah,
the house is paid, the vehicles are paid.
Yeah,
and some people just want." A lot of people, let's be honest, Jeffrey, a lot of people, Social Security is a good base. So they'll say, hey, with Social Security, we have $4,000. Okay, it's a great base. But they're like, boy, our lifestyle, though, we need another one or two.
Yeah.
That's easy to solve for.
Yeah.
But you just have to have the conversation.
Got my golf membership, and you don't want to have to give up those things like that. And while you might not be generating the kind of revenue that you do while you're working, you still want to make sure that you have enough. So stop on by for that initial 15 minutes. Get that report and find out where you're at, and then I guess the centerpiece of our conversation this morning is ask Jay, and specifically Jay and Angela, how can I insure my income? And if you've never heard that term before, Jay's the guy to talk to, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Insure your income.
So drop on by, and if you want to learn more about Insurance Agency 365, it's quite a business model, and it's quite a vision for Norfolk and Northeast Nebraska. So find them online, Insurance Agency 365. You can call them 402-371-3136, 3136, and set up that 15-minute appointment, and then maybe another hour a couple of weeks later. An hour and 15 minutes, Jay, to invest an hour and 15 minutes of your time to insure your income.
And to see it until age 100 on you and your spouse.
Yeah, yeah. And
pivotal part of retirement.
Pivotal peace of mind, too. And when you have peace of mind, you have, you have peace of mind, but you're probably going to be healthier, too, when you don't have to worry about whether or not you're going to have enough income to live in retirement. So good chat today. So find out more. Again, give them a call. 371-3136 here in Norfolk, and they are located at Insurance 365 in the building, 711 South 13th Street. You can't miss it because I think it says Insurance 365 across the front, right?
Yes, come on in and see us. We're in the expansion mode right now. We're hammers and saws. Yesterday was grinding of the cement yesterday. It's a little loud in there. It's a little dusty. If you want to come in, wear a COVID-19 face mask and a hard helmet.
Bring the N95 mask and a hat, and they'll still sit down there in all the smoke of the concrete flying around. No, they'll make sure you get into a good room, and they're going to set you up for your retirement. This is insurance, your retirement with Insurance 365. We're back again next month. Thank you very much, Angela.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Jay Kenobi.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey.